What is up, y'all? This is Two Jersey Kids. This is episode 31 and a half, I guess you can call it. I am one of your hosts for this episode this evening. It will most likely be a train wreck, but I am thankfully alongside my best friend, the best tick handler in the business, I like to call him, Gary Seisel. How you doing today, Gary?
Doing well, sir. I'm actually excited to be back in the studio again, and I have to disagree. I think it's going to be a great episode. It's not going to be a train wreck. It's going to be a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, because it always is, Gary. It's always well-oiled and just lubed up constantly. Well, I'm lubed up right now, just getting, excited for this,
Yeah, let's go with that.
Well, this is Two Jersey Kids. We are a video game podcast. We release every Tuesday. That's in your ear holes right now, shockingly enough. And Friday, Tuesday episode, we go through quickly the games releasing this week. Sometimes we highlight the games that you should be interested, and you can do more research into them. And our Friday episode is where we break down all the news going on in the video game industry. Please, if you're interested in what you hear, please subscribe and, share this with your friends. If you're a continued listener, thank you so much for being here. New listener, I hope you stick till the end. It'll be a great show. It's exciting stuff. Great topic for you. We'll get into it soon. But Gary, before we get into everything, real quick, what have you been up to?
Well, the only really interesting thing I guess I have been doing, I've been playing the new content, I guess, on Destiny. So it's the latest Age of Triumph. I actually raided this past weekend for the first time in God knows how long. Played the Crota's End raid, which I guess I haven't really played through since the first few times actually doing it a couple of years ago. So played through it again with a couple. I had, I guess, 4 of my own friends. Then we invited 2 random people from God knows where. They were actually pretty cool dudes. Nice. It was nice. I'm always hesitant to join raids because of some particular toxic people out there. I luckily haven't ran into too many of them, but we ended up getting through most of the raid. Didn't complete the final stage, but I think I'm going to go back tonight actually after the recording of this episode and finish it. Hopefully that happens. It's not as easy as it used to be, but that's pretty much it for me. Yeah, the deal.
Nothing crazy, just Destiny.
The huge.
Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah. So what have you been up to? Hopefully something more exciting.
What have I been up to? Well, I haven't really played any video games over the weekend. I've just been, hanging out, reading some books, simple stuff. I went to the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey's show in Washington.
I saw it on Instagram.
You saw it on Insta, the IG, the Grams, as the cool kids say. Yeah, I went to that show. It was kind of interesting. It felt, honestly, I was talking with my girlfriend while we were at the show. I felt kind of it felt kind of arcadic with some of the things we were doing. We felt like, because we've been to Cirque du Soleil shows before, and we feel like Cirque du Soleil does a better job storytelling through silence, and they do crazier acrobatics. This show, they have they had animals in it, and that just felt kind of old fashioned. It is sad though to see that it's 140 years now. It's ending this year. This is the final run that they're doing due to they don't have elephants anymore because I think they were treating them poorly or something along those lines, and PETA got upset. So
of course,
yeah. I thought it was a decent show. We kind of left early because we kind of got a little tired. She was up since she had to go do a thing for with one of her friends, but she had to go pick somebody up at the airport, so she had to get up at 5:30 in the morning. So she was beat on the Sunday, and I forget why I was tired too, just because I'm me and I'm tired. Saturday, what did we do Saturday? All I remember Saturday, I know we went into DC. We walked around. We went to the zoo. That's what we did on Saturday. I was trying to remember because the zoo, it's cool. I mean, it was a little cold, so a lot of the animals weren't out and about. In the age, I was excited to see some pandas, but nah. But we ended up getting an Uber driver to drive us back to our car, because we didn't want to walk all the way through the zoo again to then walk another couple miles, or not a mile, but half a mile to the metro station to then ride back, because for some reason, I don't know, I think I got new shoes, but these shoes were killing my knee for some reason. It
sucks. I know that struggle. I remember I got the last shoes I got, the last pair of shoes, they were it's way different than the ones I usually got. Usually in the past I would get like running shoes and stuff, so it was a lot more comfortable on my feet. But
it's crazy how they can affect your just legs in general.
It's crazy. Yeah, I know. It's nuts. I got Nike Air Force Ones, and they were more flat on the bottom, and I was just like, I was in so much pain for like a week and a half.
Yeah, I like started getting like leg muscle spasms, which was kind of weird, really strange. But that's neither here nor there. I remember mostly, well, of course, hanging out with my lovely girlfriend, obviously, but we got an Uber driver. I forget his name. It was like a Nagut or something, and I'm an introverted person, so doing this is draining after a while, like, just talking, but you're my friend, so it's not really draining. It's when, like, talking to other people outside, and I like to just chill to myself. Me and my girlfriend are the same way. This dude, he could talk. He tired us out. I felt like there was like 1,500 people in the car talking to us because he would not stop talking. And then we got an Uber pool, so all of a sudden, which never happens in Uber pool for me, all of a sudden magically somebody wanted an Uber pool too, so we had to pick up somebody. It was like a politics and journalism major, so she wouldn't shut up talking to each other, talking to us. I was like, oh my god, I am about to, like, they started speaking French. I was like, I just want some quietness after, like, walking around for a while, and then once she left, his attention came back to me, and I was just like, by the end of it, we got out of the car, like, it was like, let us out ahead of time, so we got out before, like, he could pass over, like, a intersection area, so we just walked across. We just wanted to get out of the car because we were so dead tired just listening and trying to conversate with him. It felt like so many people. It's like, it was more draining than, like, talking to, like, 50 people at once. Jesus.
I'm just going to go out on a limb and assume that you wouldn't be, like, necessarily a retail kind of person. Because, like, seriously, the job I currently work, there's some people that come in that I purposely – I know they aren't really in there to buy anything, but they're like parents of players that will go out and whatever. So they'll come in and like just burn time. But like there's some people that just will not stop talking. Like I'm pretty good at getting out of conversations with people, especially if,
Good to know.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty good at it. But this guy, there's some people, man, they just do not allow you to move anywhere during the conversation. It's just like, holy shit.
Like, so you're not going, you're talking to me.
Exactly. So there's like certain times where I'll just kind of disappear for a couple minutes until they vacate the premises.
Yeah.
So it's
sometimes I just need that time to just with people I know, and I just need to sit quietly and just recover. I'm not the type of person that needs to be around people to recover. I need to be by myself.
I feel you. There's been times going out on vacations and stuff like that where if I'm around people that I don't really know that well or whatever, I would just I'm like, oh my god, I can't take this anymore. I gotta like disappear for like a few hours. It's terrible.
Well, I'm glad if you guys are still here after this, 8 minutes in and no video game talks whatsoever. Well, we're about to get into it because, me and Gary are friends, so we just like to talk. Sometimes it happens during the podcast, sometimes it happens after or before the podcast, and sometimes I like to throw it in there, which happened last episode when we talked about a washer for some fucking reason. But yeah, so we're about to get into the video games. This week releasing in games from April 3rd all the way to the 9th. That's the Sunday, yeah! But since not many games are never released on Monday, we start off with Tuesday, April 4th. You have Drawn to Death coming out to PS4, and I'm excited for this, Gary, because it's a PS Plus game, and we need to go download it when it comes out tomorrow, so we can play.
This is finally going to be that game we play together, right?
Finally, yeah, definitely, 100%. Guaranteed. Moving on, you have Persona 5 coming to PS4 and PS3. I've been hearing amazing things about Persona 4. It's definitely, I think it's like a JRPG, a lot of intricate stuff, storylines, a lot of dialogue, a lot of things to dive into. Heard great things about the Persona franchise if you're into that type of thing. Right now, personally, in my life, I don't have the time to do any of that stuff, so maybe down the road I'll look into Persona 4 when I'm more stable and have the time to, play that type of game. But right now I'm not looking into it, but if you do have the time and you like JRPGs, I highly would suggest it. You have Lego City Undercover come to Xbox One, PS4, and the Switch. Air Conflict Secret Wars Ultimate Edition come to PS4. Armagaliant Decks of Destiny come to PS4. Mortal Blitz coming to PS4 or PSVR. Blackwood Crossing coming to PS4. Parappa the Rappa Remastered coming to PS4. I feel like I've heard this already. Whatever. Palutby No, I mean, before I've heard of Parappa the Rapper, but I mean, I thought I heard it released previously, but I have obviously, I already discounted myself as a video game
What's
person.
this next game you're about to read off?
Plutobi, the Dwarf Planet Tales. Plutobi. I guess it's supposed to be Plutobi. The Dwarf Planet Tales coming to PS4. Use Your Words coming to Xbox One and PS4. Viri VR coming to PSVR. Dead Rising 4 Frank Rising coming to Xbox One. Then on Wednesday, April 5th, you have Talent Not Included, Blackwood Crossing, Enter the Gungeon, all coming to Xbox One. You have Paradigm coming to PC and Mac. April 6th, this Thursday, you have Graceful Explosion Machine coming to the Switch. Another fantastic Switch game. I'm actually not sure if it's fantastic. It's just another Switch game. So, since there's not many out there, it's probably fantastic. You have Animal Gods coming to the Wii U. And then April 7th, you have Bulletstorm Full Clip Edition coming to Xbox One, PS4, and PC. I remember this came out for the 360, and I wanted to get it. It did not have, this is the time, I did not have multiplayer, so I never really looked into it, but maybe now with this full clip edition, maybe I'll check into it on the PS4. Who knows? First-person shooter storytelling. I think it was based on trying to get... You can do co-op, though, through the story and doing, like, combos, like chaining... Because you had, like, a whip, so you could throw them into the air, chain them together, kick them, Gary, out of all those, what interests you the most? I know you're not really a big gamer, so... Well, you're not a big... other type of gamers besides the bro shooters. Bang, bang, bang.
Yeah, whatever. My personal selection from this would be Drawn to Death. It's really the only game I'm actually familiar with out of this list. Have you checked it out? Well, from what I was seeing before, we actually covered this, I remember, in a previous episode. Wasn't this the one with the... Jesus, I hope this is right, because otherwise I look like an idiot. But is this the one where the game kind of takes place in like a notebook?
Good job, Gary.
The art that was now. See, I thought that was pretty cool. I thought that was a cool idea, different idea, unique. So you know what?
Like an arcade shooter where every shooter or character you choose has different sets of abilities and are better suited for certain things.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty unique and different, and especially in the way they approached it. So I'm going to go with Drawn to Death. How about yourself?
Me, personally, I like Drawn to Death. That's what I'm going to play, and it's also free if you're a PS Plus owner. But also, I would like to highly suggest Persona 5. I've been hearing great things so far about it from all the insiders. But if you're into JRPGs and, want to dive into a deep game, which I know this will be, definitely go check it out. Gary, you were finally done, and now we're getting into the topic. This is going to be interesting. Gary, what is the topic for this week?
All right. Well, first of all, I want to send a shout out again to the wonderful Allison Lodato for giving us this topic. And it is the importance of video games in preteen/teen years, and also the impact on those people and also on ourselves. So I don't know if you want to take it away or not, but you can take it away.
I'll take the wheel right now. Before we get into personal things, I decided, because I was bored during the day, I decided to, try to look into it. It made me remember that I do not have access to my college account, so I can't actually get scholarly articles, which I was really looking forward to, grabbing and researching and getting statistics for it, which is kind of upsetting. But mind you that, most of these studies that have been done for video games are psychology-based, so a lot of statistics aren't really... It's more survey-based, long-term not long-term trending, but long-term surveys, I guess you would... studies. That's long-term studies. That's what I was going for. However, I did not have access to it, and for some reason they required me to purchase some of these ones that did have interesting abstracts, but I didn't buy them because I don't have the money to, buy them, and why do I need to? So, I actually found a kind of, not really an article, but a put-together thing from, it's RaiseSmartKids.com, and I just pointed out that they have a whole list of positive effects of video games and negative effects. I'm going to run through some of the positive ones. I'm going to read some of the sections where they actually reference articles, I believe. You have one is problem solving and logic, which makes sense for me personally. A lot of problem solving when it comes to puzzles, whether it's mobile games or, actual games in general, like the Uncharted where you're solving puzzles in not dungeons. Fuck, tombs. I want to say tombs, but that was like Tomb Raider.
Ruins, tombs.
Ruins.
You know.
Yeah, you know the deal. Those things. But I feel like this personally helped me. Being an engineer now, it introduced me the notion of problem solving and thinking outside the box and having all the pieces and trying to work them together, have a workable solution. So started me down that track.
Yeah, just a little thing too. I actually really enjoyed. I think you remember like the Fallout games where they had like the hacking and stuff, and you had to kind of piece things together. I used to enjoy that as well, kind of like a puzzle. But Uncharted too. Some of the Uncharted puzzles were actually not that easy, in my opinion. Some of them were kind of hard. So, I was never I don't know if I was a great puzzle solver, but I got a lot better by playing video games. So,
then next. I feel like obvious one. You have hand-eye coordination, fine motor, and spatial skills. They write, in shooting games, the character may be running and shooting at the same time. This requires the real-world player to keep track of the position of the character where he or she is heading, his speed, where the gun is aiming, if the gun is hitting the enemy, and so on. All of these factors need to be taken into account, and then the player must coordinate the brain's interpretation and reaction with the movement in his hands and fingertips. The process requires a great deal of hand or eye-hand coordination. They wanted to switch it up for me, just screw me up. Eye-hand coordination and visual spatial ability to be successful. Research also suggests that people can learn iconic spatial and visual attention skills from video games. There have even been studies with adults showing that experience with video games is related to better surgical skills. Also, a reason given by expert as to why fighter pilots of today are more skillful is that this generation's pilots are being weaned on video games. That's fascinating.
Yeah, there you go. So if I ever want to become a surgeon, I mean, I already have like that hand-eye coordination that I need, right?
Yeah. You don't need.
It's an easy field to get into.
You don't need 8 years of schooling and then another few more years of residency. Yeah, easy peasy. Moving on. Yeah, quick thinking, making fast analysis and decisions. They write here. Sometimes the player does this almost every second of the game, giving the brain a real workout. According to researchers at the University of Rochester, led by Daphne Balvalier, a cognitive sciences, games simulating stressful events such as those found in battle or action games could be a training tool for real-world situations. The study suggests that playing action video games primes the brain to make quick decisions. Video games can be used to train soldiers and surgeons, like we said before, according to the study. Importantly, decisions made by action-packed video game players are no less accurate. According to Bavalier, quote, action game players make more correct decisions per unit time. If you are a surgeon or you are in the middle of a battlefield, that can make all the difference, end quote. Moving on, you have accuracy. Then you have situational awareness. I can't fucking speak now, apparently. Then you have perseverance. They write, in a higher levels of games, the player usually fails the first time around, but he keeps on trying until he succeeds and move on. They don't mention any research, but I like to highlight that because, I mean, I felt that, all the time playing, when I was younger, especially playing Kingdom Hearts. I would always fail. It always sucked, but I really enjoyed the game, so I didn't get angry. I just kept moving forward, tried to beat the game. The only games that ever really made me angry were online shooters, because it was another person on the end, but most of the time when you're playing single player, it's just on you, so you experience that quote-unquote failure, in my personal opinion. And now with Dark Souls and Bloodborne and all those, or Neo, and all those difficult types of games, now it shows you, it'll give, kids or anybody, adolescents, adults, the ability to cope with failure, I guess you could say. And then you have pattern recognition, which is obvious, and improved ability to rapidly and accurately recognize things, which makes sense.
Hell yeah.
Gary, you have any comments on the good things?
Well, I mean, I agree with pretty much everything. I think there's a lot of good things that people just overlook when it comes to what you get out of video games. I think that some people, not all, but some people think that, they hear the bad things that happen with kids, with video games, or how they were influenced by something, or like Grand Theft Auto, for example, and then they apply that bad scenario to everything. So I think there's a lot of great things that come out of video games, and obviously I'll be getting into some of them myself, and I kind of talk about myself a little bit, but I'll let you kind of continue with what you were saying. So
now, I guess, from what I've been seeing with the bad side of video games, The most obvious one that it always comes back, researcher, I don't know if it's like a buzz thing with video games. You see it also randomly popped in on news from time to time. It's every like few months, and it always gets pushed higher on our games in Reddit. Is when, studies or research is done or news highlights some study that shows that violence in video games may have an effect on violence for teens or adolescents. One quote here from this article stating, most of the bad effects of video games are blamed on the violence they contain. Children who may play more violent games are more likely to have increased aggressive thoughts, feelings, behaviors, and decreased pro-social helping, according to a scientific study. They have a citation there. I'm not going to read it. Also, according to Dmitry Akushin of Seattle Children's Research Institute, those who watch a lot of simulated violence, such as those in video games, can be immune to it, more inclined to act violently themselves, and are less likely to behave emphatically. And then they also state more articles that go along with the situation, but then they also stating that the evidence is not really consistent and the issue is not really far from settled, because from what I learned in psychology when I took some non-core classes, or the classes that I need to take to get finally to engineering, which made no sense, a psychology class, correlation is never a reason for causation. You can't correlate it to things. What age and shoe size are technically correlated, or shoe size and intelligence. But as you get older, you're obviously going to become more intelligent, and your shoe size has no. I can't fucking speak today. Has no indication on your intelligence. Ja feels?
Yeah. Well, I was going to say too. There's two things with this scenario, and I've been saying it before, and in that I don't think violent video games make people violent. I played violent video games since I was a kid, and it wasn't something that I took seriously. It wasn't something that I played and it was like, oh, I want to go out there now and beat a hooker with a baseball bat because I saw that in Grand Theft Auto. I never felt that way, and I think that a lot of it comes down to it's like called personal responsibility. And I think that, like you were saying this before, in that they don't really take into account the parents in this situation. So, in my opinion, if you see your child is maybe more violent, I don't know, has anger outbursts or something like that, maybe buying, Call of Duty or Grand Theft Auto isn't really a good decision if, your child has a video game console. Because let's face it, your child isn't buying the game, it's you. You're providing that game to your kids. So I think there's a personal responsibility involved.
And maybe have a sit-down conversation and talk to them, because sometimes there are kids that can't make the connection right away with reality versus fantasy, and maybe if you see that connection, or you're seeing that with sudden outbursts or getting angry over video games, or unnecessarily angry, like just out of the blue all the time, maybe you should have a sit-down and conversation with them about effects of video games and what's real and what's fake. Again, I'm not a parent, so I can't really say this definitively if this will work, but I do think that sometimes the onus does come on the parent itself to notice these things and maybe set some ground rules, boundaries for the amount of games that are played, because sometimes you have to wait until that connection is made. Me and you personally never had an issue with playing these violent games. I played an M game when I was like in my teens, and I never associated that, oh yeah, I should go out and shoot somebody just because I can do it in this this obviously fake world that's not real.
Yeah. I
mean, it all depends on the person itself. It's the same. I want to say it's kind of like the same argument with like I guess guns in general. Like, you state that guns are definitely like a conduit to commit violence, but it's not their action. It's like the person that's wielding it.
Yeah,
it's their mental.
Not the gun.
It's mental instability in the person. Same thing with video games itself. If somebody's mentally unstable and this can trigger something in their brain, it's not really the video game's fault, because there's a diverse swath of people that are going to be playing these games. You're not going to tailor a game specifically because one person may have a bad reaction to it. I mean, that's just what I think. I know other people probably think other ways when it comes to this. Maybe they just think no violence in general, but I feel like that's an extreme.
Yep, I agree. I don't think that a small batch of bad cases should just outweigh all the other normal. Well, I hate to use the word normal because I know how today's society is, but the other normal scenarios that unfold, where kids don't have issues with violence or the violent games they're playing.
Yeah, agreed. And then another thing that I noticed was, which I kind of agree with, that one of the bad things with video games now with the online society is bad language runs amok.
Oh, come on now.
No, I really do think that I know they're going to. I know it's bad, and I know kids they're going to say that. I feel like this gives them an avenue now to say it more. And maybe it'll flow more. Mind you, I fucking curse all the fucking time. So bad language is not a huge deal. It's just one thing that's been pointed out constantly. And I do feel like video games, especially online, is a conduit for speaking that way. But I mean, it's not. I don't think it's like a crazy thing that's an issue.
Well, I just think the reason why that's happening is because you can hide behind a TV. Any kid that goes out and says the things they say online to people, you're going to get punched in the face. It's just not going to. Yeah. It's not going to fly like it does in video games. The amount of hate mail I've gotten on PlayStation just by playing Destiny is comical. I mean, I enjoy getting it every time, frankly, just to see if people are actually creative. Mm-hmm. But some people, I mean, I actually got a voice message one time. Guy yelled at me saying I wasn't playing the game the right way. And it's kind of hilarious. I don't know, but that's the reason why I think it's so prevalent, at least the bad language, is because you can just hide behind a computer screen. There's no consequence to it.
Yeah, I thought of two other things that I wanted to get to. One is the issue that I saw some people are worried about social interaction with kids playing these games. I don't know if they're chilling on their iPad or iPhone. How you see young kids now playing like a puzzle game or sitting with their head down. I know I guess it takes away from social interaction, but me being a kid, from what I remember, when I wasn't playing games, I was not really interacting with people around me either. I was just keeping my head down, but that's just me personally. And also, I mean, in today's society, it's not just the kids that are doing it. I feel like adults are also have their head down in their phone or whatever. They're reading, they're looking at a book, so I don't know if it stunts like social interaction. I was trying to look into articles. That's what I was trying to look into, like scholarly articles about that. If there was a not correlation, but if there was a data trend for social interaction with the amount of games that are being played by a kid. I don't know. Well,
you gotta take into account here too. Our playing video games versus kids playing today is the portability thing. Yeah. We didn't have the same portability that these kids have now, where you can play for hours on end and browse the internet, look at videos, blah, blah, blah. We didn't have that back then. We had Game Boys and we had Nintendos and PlayStations, and a lot of the gaming took place at home, for a short period of time. But I feel like now, and this is one of the cons that I'll actually agree with. I think that it's so ridiculous anywhere you go now. And I mean, I'm guilty of it too, but there's some people that just can't look up from their phone. Like they'll go to, I've been to Flyers games where people are on their phones all the time. I'm like, why do you even come to the game? You're not even watching it.
The thing that it's just what pisses me off, I saw at the Ringling Bros thing, people have their iPad or their phone out recording the thing. I was like, and they're just looking at the screen instead of watching the actual thing.
It's so dumb. And not only that though, I just, it's also like when I'm driving, for example, and this is, again, don't text and drive, that whole thing. I cannot stand these people that are just, you see them looking up and down constantly. It's like, can you make it any more obvious? And second, why do you need to look at your phone so much? What is so important? There's nothing out there. Like, granted, I've had to text people or call people, like my boss, for example, if I'm late to work. But what could possibly be this important? Or you have to risk your life phone all the time. It's so annoying, and it's dangerous and it's annoying. Like when I'm sitting at a light and I just see a person with their head down. Like oh my God, it makes me so angry.
Again,
this is one of those comments I'll agree with.
I feel like it comes back to, though, is setting boundaries for kids when they get to this point, stating that you can't, do this out and about. I don't know. You can't always do it, but at certain portions you have to put it down and actually interact with people. I think that sometimes, I understand, like, it's at your fingertips, but sometimes you, like you were saying, personal responsibility with the way the people are growing up. You kind of have to make sure that today's day and age with technology and internet at everyone's fingertips, you kind of have to make sure they notice that there is an outside world and not keep their head down, which, again, I do have an issue with, I do notice that I do that sometimes in a social situation when I'm tired and, like, drained and, like, I don't want to pay attention, so I'm just going to look down at my phone because that's the easiest way. But I mean, if someone's talking to me personally, I'm not gonna, look down at my phone. I'm gonna talk with them, interact with them. I think it's just finding that balance, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not an expert.
I'm not like, I understand. I want to say something right now, and it's the idea that I don't really know if kids should necessarily have the phones they have right now. Like, I see some kids walking around with like iPhones that are like, like six. I don't even know how much the current iPhone goes for, but it goes for a damn good amount of money. We all know that, and it's like, I understand it's a safety thing where, like, it's good to give your kids cell phones so they can contact you if something's wrong, whatever. But I'll see where I work. I deal with kids all the time. I see them everywhere. Even adults, obviously, and it's just it's almost frustrating to see kids just on their phones all the time, not even looking anywhere else. Like, it's just annoying. And now we sound like old people, saying, "Oh, those video games, they're ruining these kids." It sounds ridiculous, but it's very. I don't know,
we were on the precipice of all of this. We had the Game Boy Color, but the benefit is I think we could play it, but there was no other interaction with the outside. At least we were playing it. We're not on our phone where we can just go from one thing to another to another to another, which I think leads to an issue with attention span that's been going on lately. With everything being available, and you get bored within an instant, you can switch from thing to thing instead of actually focusing on something. Which at least the Game Boy Color allowed you. If you only had one game, it allowed you to stay focused on that one game.
That's the thing. You said we were at the precipice of all this stuff. It's really interesting the time that we were born in. Now, for everybody out there, we were both born in '93.
Yeah.
So we were born like right before all this technology really took hold of everybody. We grew up with like desktop computers. The internet came, and it was very basic, obviously, when it first came out. But as time went on, you saw like just how open everything got. Everybody just started to connect with Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and everything else. So it's really unbelievable.
We were right on the tipping point where it just started exploding with the innovation.
Like rewind maybe even 10, 15 years, and I mean, you had AIM,
yeah,
instant messaging, and then you go back to like the year 2000. We didn't even have cell phones really then, and if we did, they really weren't popular. Weren't really widely available. I mean, I remember my parents had those suitcase car phones. It's fascinating. Honestly, the technology advancement in the past 15 years is ridiculous.
Yeah, my first, I think I got my first phone in 7th or 8th grade, I believe. So I was 12 maybe. But this wasn't like a smartphone you see today, day and age. I think it was like maybe a slide phone that I could text.
Yeah.
No, it was the first Envy, so it flipped up, and then you flip it down, flip to the side, so you could text. Do you remember those? I forget what the fuck they were called. They were huge. They were like little bricks, but you could flip the screen, and it would switch to the top. So then you could. Underneath was a keyboard to type it. I forget what they were called.
Well, I don't know what they were called, but I had a phone like that for a while. It was like an LG phone. I remember that. It had a keyboard. It was great. I mean, having the keyboard was like life changing. Let's be honest.
I fucking sucked at the texting with the numbers.
Like, it's terrible.
The way the PS3 keyboard was. That was awful.
That was asinine. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I don't know how we got off on this tangent, but it was a nice tangent.
The point I'm trying to make, or why we got off on this tangent, is like just how much technology has come and how that has affected basically kids growing up today with having phones and stuff like this that we didn't have.
Yeah.
Only 20 years ago or so.
All right. Now we got into some of the other stuff, like legitimate, I guess, studies that have been done, like little bullet points. I guess it's time to get into personal things, which I feel like some people want. So, Gary, how have like video games affected you, preteen, teen, just in general? It doesn't have to be in that age range, I don't think. Just give let you go first.
All right. Well, so I basically divided up into 3 categories. That's just how my brain works. I have to organize myself and my thoughts. So the first thing I had, at least in the ways that video games affected me, was the learning aspect. So back in the day, I guess I had to be like around 7 years old, maybe kindergarten. I remember my sister or my parents, I don't know, they bought Oregon Trail. And everyone knows what this game is. It's a famous game.
Putt golf. Sorry.
Putt golf.
Not
You're ruining
golf.
everything.
No, it was putt. I don't know why I added golf. That was fucking stupid. But putt. You never played putt? The little car.
How was that?
The little car. You had to solve puzzles. I remember a specific puzzle where I had to get a snake unfrozen from a block of ice, and I had to give him hot chocolate. I think that was good.
Ooh.
Yeah.
No. The more you know. Anyway. Getting back to this. So
Sorry.
I remember we got Oregon Trail, and I didn't really know anything about the game as a kid, but through playing it, I got to play with my sister, and also my family would join in on occasions, and the game was fun, and that was the first thing you noticed, at least as a kid. But what you didn't realize at the time is all the learning that was actually taking place while you were playing. So how much of a resource to buy, what to buy, how to ration, your food, whatever supplies you had. And there was just a lot of things that went into it, that you learned along the way that you didn't even know you were learning. And I think that with the video games, a lot of kids learn through video games. I think I mentioned this in maybe one of the first few episodes we ever did of this podcast, that I was reading online one time about the game RuneScape, and there was a guy that learned the English language through the game.
Damn.
That's how he learned English. And it's fascinating. I feel like a lot of times no one emphasizes that type of story. They want to go for the bad because, it's the news after all. They need to make their money. But yeah, they don't do the positive stories. So I think there's a lot of learning experiences that can take place from these games. And, from this Oregon Trail video game, I developed an interest in this period of history, the United States history. I really got into the West and, basically the hardships that these people had to go through. So, from this learning experience, I also developed an interest that, basically still continues to this day. So it's fascinating. Moving on, I have also creativity. So I don't really write that much anymore, but back in, I guess my early teenage years when I was 12, maybe 12 to 16-ish, I used to write a lot it could be about video games or just about anything, even if it was me just making something up. So, I'd write about Star Wars. I would put myself in a situation and write about it as if it was happening to me. Or
nice.
I wrote a story actually that I posted on. Sorry, what were we saying?
No, I said I've done that before. That we had writing assignments in a middle school, and I remember I did a writing assignment where I put myself in the World of Warcraft MMO, where I got sucked into the computer. I wrote a good 40 pages on it, decided I didn't want to show this to my teacher, and started writing something else, and it was basically a rip-off, not a rip-off, but it was kind of like me in the Gears of War world, kind of mixed with War of the Worlds. So I've definitely done that too, where it sparked my creative side.
Exactly. And I actually posted it was a short story on RuneScape on a fan forum years ago, and it's actually still up there. I every now and then I'll search for it and I'll find the actual thread.
You should tweet it out, please.
But maybe I will actually. So basically, yeah, this story basically took place. It was just about a personal experience I had in the game that I wrote about that I just kind of found interesting. I don't know, but basically, it was my friends and I at the time. We went into the wilderness when it used to be around. I think it's actually back now in the game. But I remember we went out in the wilderness, we got trapped out there, and we were kind of being surrounded by these higher level characters that could easily kill us and steal everything. So it was basically a story about us trying to get the hell out of the wilderness. Seems simple, but it was fun to write. So yeah, these games basically, and games I guess, and also movies as well, kind of sparked my creativity and kind of encouraged me to write. And it was just something that I did a lot of back in those days. So it was helpful. Lastly, I had expression. So this kind of feeds into my, I guess, the creative side of things. But I guess growing up, I wasn't always outgoing. I mean, I could talk to just about anybody, but I wasn't someone that would just go out of their way to meet new people. So with video games, I kind of, yeah, exactly. So video games kind of just gave me an outlet to express myself without the fear of actually having to meet real, well, not real people, but be judged, I guess. I don't know if you knew this, Adam, or not, but middle school was the worst time of my life, easily. And the game, ironically, the game Club Penguin, may it rest in peace, was a huge help actually during those times because, Club Penguin was obviously a social game, and I got to meet people in that game and kind of just go through those shitty years, kind of kind of living in a different world. It kind of just, kind of got you out of that shitty situation you were in real life. It kind of allowed you to disappear from it for a little bit. So
I had that same experience to piggyback off of what you were saying with Club Penguin. And it's unfortunate that middle school was a crappy time because I was around you. I was trying to be friends with you around that time. And unfortunately, that's fucking school did a bullshit thing where you split up into stupid teams, so I couldn't be like in the same class as you. Which I was. Those motherfuckers would be put into the ground, let's be real. But, yeah, to piggyback off of you, you had Club Penguin. I had this thing called Habu Hotel. Which Habu Hotel was a big thing. I forget around what time it was, but it was definitely a big thing to help me through me being my parents getting divorced when I was really young. And it was just... Being that young, I kind of didn't understand it quite yet. I felt like it was more on me, and I guess I like shut out more. I didn't get it. I didn't want to interact too much with, I don't know, either party. I guess I was kind of sad, and I feel like Habu Hotel sort of, I guess not brought me out on a shelf, but I was able to interact with people, be myself, not be judged because everyone's doing the same thing. Everyone's being creative or doing weird things on this, like doing the stupid thing of like a professional Habu Hotel wrestling league where it literally makes no sense and people just typing in moves that they're doing, or going to like a club or working as a bouncer there, and it made no sense. It made no sense, but I enjoyed it. Like, having like friends or like Habu Hotel, like girlfriends or boyfriends, whichever way you wanted to swing, and like trying to work out your suave with that, which was fun, and being, just like obviously being like a younger kid and not like understanding like the intricacies of, a quote unquote relationship. Habu Hotel didn't really help me in that department. But I remember it helped me through like difficult times. And that's what, when this topic came up, I got a little nervous because that's what I mainly associate. You did a great job breaking it down. You always make me look bad when it comes to these talking segments because you're always better ahead than I am. I just ramble off my head and try to, make it a cohesive unit or cohesive thing. But the main thing that video games have always done for me is like a sort of escapism. Try to escape the world. I don't know if anybody's known this, but I know my mom hasn't, but I know during random periods in my time, like especially high school, sometimes middle school, I would experience like just random fits of depression where I would just get really sad for no reason. And the thing is, depression, I think, hits people at random times for no reason, no rhyme or reason. I don't know if like people really still understand to this day, because looking back, I had a great childhood. I had a great growing up, besides divorce, which, I mean, it happens, but my mom is fantastic. And getting, it's hard to explain, but there were just like fits of just randomly that would occur, and I didn't know why. I didn't know why it would happen. I would just be sad for no reason, and for some reason, the only thing that could get me out or get me up during the day, sometimes like during the weekend, would just be like the idea of like, going and playing like a video games, like Call of Duty, for example, or Halo, and playing like Uncharted of some kind, or what was another game, like Ratchet and Clank, for example, was one that got me up during the day. When I played God of War, that was another one. So a lot of this stuff, like, really, it sounds silly, but I know there's plenty of people out there that video games have definitely helped them in this department, helping them understand, or like giving them a reason to get up, because sometimes it doesn't. It's difficult, and there's no rhyme or reason why this happens, and sometimes you need a random thing that makes no sense of why you get up for that day, but it helps you get up, and that's what it does.
Yep. And honestly, like for me personally, I mean, growing up, like I said, like middle school was real tough, and there were times where you just feel like shit all the time because either when I was younger, when I was a kid, I didn't have like the confidence that I do now, and even now I still struggle with self-confidence, like mostly everybody does. But but growing up, I mean, you go through these times where you feel like shit, and people are shitting on you, and you basically have to find something to bring your the light at the end of the tunnel. you need something to take yourself out of the situation. And for me, like video games always did that for me, and they still do it today. If I have a bad day at work, or even if it's something else, it could be anything. The death of a family member or whatever. It's always there just to kind of help me just get away from everything. So that's another thing that people just don't really think about when it comes to video games, is the therapeutic qualities that come along, go along with it.
I mean, there's multiple times in my life, and I'm sure yours, seeing personal family members being hurt in I don't want to go too deep into things because, maybe one day when I feel comfortable sharing their experiences, because it's not really me, or, having, a family member when you're like somewhat young talking to you about their thoughts on suicide, which is never fun, being the younger person in that talk. So, I mean, having that talk and thinking about it, and sometimes, because it's hard for as a kid, like, to relate to certain things. You don't quite get what people are going through, and I guess sometimes video games now, they are an art of storytelling, and they're a way to better help people understand people going in situations. A lot of indie games now showcase that. There was one indie game that won this year. I forget what the title was, but it was basically showing people or going through the experience that a father goes through with their daughter going through cancer and chemo, and I think losing her, which was unfortunate. And it gives you an opportunity to go through other people, being in the shoes of other people's lives, I guess you could say, and playing from their perspective and understand what is going on if you're able to make those connections. I mean, Horizon is a great example. Horizon, honestly helped me through a difficult time that I was going through recently. I basically lost in December. I basically lost like a really close father figure, and I mean, it was Horizon and Neo and actually Final Fantasy 15 that really helped me, sort of, because I mean, nothing anybody else says on the outside can really affect you. It's more like personally on the inside and what you're thinking. And sometimes I needed to escape. I needed to be by myself. I needed to escape into a world where I could let go of what's been going on around me. And sometimes that helped me get through certain really dark and grieving portions of what's going on. I'm still going through it right now, but thankfully, thanks to you, Gary, this podcast has really helped me, taking it one day at a time. I try to get to recording a podcast and trying to be excited, and I'm always happy recording, and then, going to play a game, taking my mind off of everything and immersing myself in like a beautiful world or a dark world, but I mean, it's not my world, which that's the thing that hits hard. So I guess I'm rambling right now because I'm just going off of emotions of what I'm thinking, but it's video games to me. It sounds cliche. I know video games have helped me progress in life, helped me get through a lot of things, and I'm thankful for video games, and that's why I love doing this. I love, praising video games and bringing light to what video games can do for people, and I feel like developers need to know that more, is that we appreciate everything that they do, and they've helped plenty. I guarantee you they've helped more than just me out there get through a really difficult time in their life. Whether it's anybody close to them, or they're suffering through a bad breakup, or they lost somebody like I did, and it's just, I think they deserve all our respect. And I know they get shit on a lot for putting out crappy games or half-baked games, but when they make a great game, I don't think they get enough praise for what they accomplish and what they give to us. Personally, I think.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, what you just said for the past 5 minutes, I really couldn't say it any better myself. But I guess to put my final my final touches on it, I guess, is, I don't even know how to formulate this, but I agree with everything you're saying. I mean, video games, for me, right now, I'm in a situation where I'm in a kind of a transition period in my life. I'm done college, and now I have to start moving on into a different part of my life. where I had to obviously find like a full-time job and kind of go out into a place where I've never really been before, and that's just kind of like into the open world. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of for me, like video games have helped me, I guess, in a way, like deal with that stress as well. That's kind of something that affects me every day right now is the idea that I want to have to kind of grow up now and kind of just move on.
Join the fun adult life.
Yeah, exactly. So with this podcast, with video games in general, like I mean, a lot of the friends I have right now, my brother-in-law, and also Ben and Rob and all those guys, we hang, and obviously Adam.
Thank you.
But we hang out through video games, and other than those guys, I don't really have a ton of friends that I necessarily hang out with much anymore. High school was over, like 6 years ago.
Jesus.
Even college, like. I'm done. I'm done playing hockey now, and like a lot of the guys I play with aren't really around anymore. So video games have kind of like provided like a foundation for my life in a way. With the podcast, obviously being something that I always turn to, and I'm always involved with, but also just video games in general, where I can hang out with my friends. So
yeah, video games I think help. Just in general with, creating relationships. They can be a conduit for, hanging out and having a good time. I know recently, because my girlfriend is not a big gamer per se, she doesn't quite understand it because she didn't grow up, having that opportunity to play games. So recently, a few weeks back, I know she had her wisdom teeth removed, and she couldn't really go out into the world too much. So I decided, let's play a game. Let's just try it. And instead of playing like a single player game where she felt like, we tried once before this, and I let her take control, and she told me afterwards she felt awkward because she was the only one playing. So I was like, all right, let's play a cooperative game. And I decided to get, because I think it was on sale or something, Overcooked. Which is basically a cooking game, which is I'm telling you right now, phenomenal. But it's like a co-op game, and we decided to play it. If you don't know Overcooked, it's just you're two chefs or however many you're playing as, and you're trying to create the orders that are coming up top. It's very simple, but when you progress in the map, I guess you could say, like in a Mario World type map, the maps get even more insane. Like recently, one we've played we're on like a pirate ship, and like the tide like changes like the shelving, so it like a different format like every few minutes. So we have to like coordinate together. She laughed through like that whole sequence. Like we would barely get through it. And normally I get frustrated at some like games when like it's not going my way, but the fact that she was able to like laugh that much and like have such a good time doing it, like kind of warmed my heart that she was able to see the enjoyment that I have in these games and how they can be really serious, because I showed her Last of Us, and they can be really fucking goofy and make no sense, but we still love them anyway. So I just, video games, I think, are a great form of art, and I feel like it's not mentioned enough that they are art. They are ways to escape. They are ways to express ourselves, like you said so eloquently. They activate our like creativity when we enter a world. I forgot to mention, like in Bloodborne, when I was playing Bloodborne, it made me start thinking of like a short story to create in that Victorian Victorian dark world, which I found fascinating. So it's just I don't think it's getting mentioned enough in the mainstream, but now the mainstream is becoming us. It's becoming YouTube. It's becoming less mainstream. Exactly. Less mainstream is now the cable news networks and all the cable shows, because I mean, who really watches cable that much anymore, to be honest? And yeah. We're seeing that now, where I think I saw a study where YouTube viewership is going to, I think, estimated next year to finally eclipse TV viewership, which is insane.
Yeah, it's not too surprising, I guess, though. But I like, I mean, it's funny you say that. It's kind of I guess that could be another episode in itself. But I find myself now watching Twitch more than I watch TV.
Yeah.
And I never thought I remember back, like, fast rewind back like maybe 5 years or so, I'd be like, why would anybody watch video games? Why would anybody want to watch somebody play a video game? And then suddenly,
what is this thing called a Let's Play? This was fucking dumb.
Yeah. No, seriously, and that's the way I thought back then. And along came Destiny, and for as much of a train wreck as that game can be and was at one time, I got into watching I got into watching Real Crafty, who I was talking about last episode, and I just love sitting down sometimes, at the end of the night or whatever, and just watching him play video games because he's entertaining, he's fun, and he's always positive no matter what's happening in the game.
Exactly.
He can get shit on 10 straight games, but he's still positive. So it's it's interesting how certain forms of entertainment now are just taking over what people considered to be normal, a year ago or 5 years ago.
I remember when I first got onto watching like a Let's Play on YouTube. I think it was in college, like sophomore year or something. No, I think it was like junior year, where I found Let's Plays were never like a big thing for me to watch on YouTube. I would just watch random shit. All of a sudden, I just found like this channel called Game Grumps, which are huge now. But I dare you, anybody, to go watch when JonTron was on the show itself. Watch them play Sonic 06 and watch every episode, because every episode is fucking amazing. It shows you the enjoyment that they can have during a game, and you don't even see them. That branched off to me watching people like Markiplier, which I think are really good. And he's very genuine, and he loves his community, even though he has like 17 million subs now. He tries to do more videos for like his fans, and he shows that he really cares about like the fans themselves, which I would like to do at some point, get to that stratosphere, me and Gary. We know we'll get there thanks to you.
I think that's going to be the way I actually end my my night here. Actually, is one last thing I want to say, is that video games for me have been kind of like an inspiration in some ways. A few years ago, I would have never done something like this, and I never would even thought about it even. It's something that I love video games so much, and I guess for a long time I never really thought about like what I was going to do outside of school, and I want to get a job and everything, like a normal job, but I also want to have fun in life, and video games for me is kind of an inspiration. And I hope that one day, whether it's this podcast or whatever, we can kind of enjoy video games, but also I don't know, make a living off it. Who knows? It's just something that it's an inspiration. That's the way I'm trying to explain it. But that's I think that's going to do it for me, though. That's the way I want to end that.
I want to piggyback off what you're saying, is that we do appreciate all you listeners out there, and we do want to make this into a thing. It may be a slow burn, which everything is a slow burn, but even if we don't ever get there, I really enjoy making this with my best friend. And I hope you guys enjoy listening with us, and maybe we'll get there. I really hope we do. I really think we will. I just have this odd feeling in the pit of my stomach that we'll get there eventually. I don't know how, or I don't know why. We just will. And it's just with support with you guys out there that listen to us, and hopefully share our podcast with like friends that you enjoy. Oh, maybe if they're down in the dumps and they want to listen to two fucking people ramble about things and talk goofiness. I mean, I know there's plenty of like YouTube channels out there that do that, but I don't know. I feel like we're somewhat different. We're just two best friends, shooting the shit, insult each other all the time. I mean. But we appreciate everybody out there that listens, all you Jersey kids out there, and I'm just going to end it here. Gary, you want to say bye before I go?
Peace, everybody. Love you all. See you on Friday.
So, yeah, before we go, just please go follow us on Twitter at 2JerseyKids. And if you're still here at the almost 59-minute mark, well, actually it's like 58:30, but if you're still here, please share us with your friends. It'd be really helpful. And give us an iTunes rating or whatever podcast service app that you use there, whatever rating you can. We are available in a lot of places like TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Play, iTunes, Overcast, I think Podcast Addict. So please give us a rating, which we would really appreciate it. We really appreciate you. I know we say this all the time, but it can never be understated how much you mean to us and all of our listeners. We made it over 1,500 downloads last month. Well, hopefully we'll get over 2,000. That's what we're shooting for, 2,000. Maybe we'll get there, maybe we won't, but hopefully you'll take this ride with us. So on that note, we'll see you Friday. Keep playing those games. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. A very personal one, but keep playing those games. Bye.